There, we're just gonna assume that it's all working because every other time it does, and I'm sitting here for hours trying to make.
Maybe it was intended.
Awesome. Good. So, wow, good turnout. I'm excited. If you guys need to grab chairs, this is an hour. So I don't know about you guys, but I get really tired after a bit. But I'll hand off my chair so you guys can sit. You're painting today?
I would grab stuff, but there's some.
These chairs.
Every time I wave at you, just throw one at me, right?
I'll be up there.
Alrighty, so if you're in this room, you're here for Designer's Corner. If you're not here for Designer's Corner, too bad, you're here for that now. I am Krista Muschietti. I am excited to see you guys. I'm looking around to see there are a few new faces. That's always exciting. So background as to who I am and why I'm standing here. I'm a freelance graphic designer focusing on advertising, branding, and illustration. So if you like those topics, we can talk for a very long time. My counterpart is Demetrius Vassar, who does UX design, but he is awesome and got himself a job in Memphis, Tennessee. So this may be the last time we are all graced by his presence. So I'm thrilled, but also really, really sad. So if you guys see me like tearing up, that's why. We've been doing this for over a year now. We meet every Wednesday, 8 to 9 in this room, hopefully, because I like the big cow on the wall. Yeah, right? Just drive down, it's 4 hours, come down the Dinosaur's Corner. I will also point out that we are live streaming, so we're on YouTube. So if you ever want to go back and see what your hair looked like on this day, you can go back and see it, because it'll be there. If you're uncomfortable by that, just let me know, and I'll turn the camera off or whatnot. We're here to have fun, not to get weirded out or anything. So before I start, we're going to go around really quickly, just say your name and your background and your favorite color. Why not?
Favorite color blue.
I like the shirt then.
Favorite color purple.
Perfect.
I'm Suzanne, and I'm a programmer.
I'm Natalie. I'm a computer science student and software development intern, and my favorite color is pink.
I'm Julia Pegas. I'm a marketing major and I'm actually an art minor, so this is an interesting class for me, and my favorite color is red.
My name is Neil Kennedy. I'm a local visual artist, studying 3D, and my favorite color is probably slate gray.
Everyone's like, ooh, yeah. I'm going to update my favorite color now because that's awesome.
My name is Jennifer Kai, and
Hi, I'm Randall Cameron. I'm a web developer, and my favorite color is
And I'm Emily. I am a creative manager, and I like all of them. Hey guys, Ray here. I'm a photographer, and my favorite color is
Color's about that. It's valid. That's a valid statement.
I'm Chris, guitarist, artist, and I have a degree in graphic design. But favorite colors are this, maroon, and sky blue.
Can you just go around the room and pick random colors? Cause
No.
That one! Whatever she's wearing.
Half my shirts are this color.
That's awesome. Next one.
Alright, I'm Greg. I'm a race photographer with Weed, Black, and Stone, and Ruby Red.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Shona Patel. I'm a freelance consultant in marketing and also website design.
My name is Ryan Trump. I'm studying animation and game design, and my favorite color is Gang Smith, industrial designer, engineer. Let's go with blue.
Good. Make it.
Yeah.
I am Chris Straight here. I'm a software engineer, and my favorite color is
So moon ring, all about the moon ring.
What's the name of that?
Oh man, I think I'm gonna have to go with something like really light blue, like the wall that a couple shades lighter.
Nitas Nasser, software engineer, trying to UX designer. I like red.
I'm Jody Skinner. I'm owner of Van Bach Manager for a team building education company based in Venezuela, Alaska. And my favorite color is forest green.
You guys have good colors. I approve. You guys can all stay. Alrighty, so it's nice to know who's in the room because I'm always interested to see where your backgrounds are. Because design, we purposely made it a very broad term because design encompasses so much of everything that we do, and it touches a lot of what other people do, especially business cards. So I'm excited about business cards. I don't know about you guys. I used to have boxes and shoe boxes of business cards underneath my bed at my mom's house, and I would collect them, and I would sort them, and I would write them, and then I realized I needed to get out of the house and like do something else for a little bit. But if you see me getting really excited and talking a little bit too fast, you can be like, Chrissy, please slow down. Can you repeat that? Slow me down at any time. I won't get offended. If anything, I'll be excited to be able to say it again. We are sponsored by the awesome Sartha With Us. They're an ad agency out of Maryland, and they're the ones that sponsor the candy and the box. Don't tell them that it's broken. And all the wonderful art supplies. So thank you, big thank you to them to keeping us fueled and energetic. Alrighty. Yes, so business cards. I was like looking at the history of what I'm about to do just because it gives you a good sense of why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And business cards have a really long history. So they started way back, I feel like everything starts in China, but way back in 15th century China, a lot of people, this is where they kind of start pointing to the beginnings of graphic design for business cards. And it was all about access. So the cards were actually used primarily by the elite, so the high end of society, and it was a way to kind of announce your intention to meet with somebody else. So you would hand your card to maybe not necessarily the person, but whoever was helping the person, and they would go tell the person, hey, Joe wants to meet with you. Do you want to meet with him or not? And it was also a way to kind of grant you access to certain places. So it was almost like your gold card to get into places. So if you had a nice card and the name reflected on the card was someone that they wanted to let in, you'd be let into like the social clubs. So it really was all about access to people and access to certain locations. The 17th century, now we're shifting more to kind of Western. In the 17th century, it was all about status. So again, it was used to let you know who was coming into your household, so you let the household know, I'm here to visit you, or I'm here to visit the town, I'm here is me, woe is me, all that fun stuff. Typically, it was the size of a playing card, and playing cards back then were a little bit bigger, so about this big. And a well-designed card could actually help you climb up the social ladder. So if you had a witty phrase, or if it was really intricate or really neat, people would be like, oh, that's pretty cool, and you would be able to be introduced to other people. 17th century, they started actually using it not only for the elite, but also for trade. So it was a lot more about location and information. So a card was left after, let's say, the old school plumber would fix your plumbing, which I don't know if they had it back then. This is not history, this is graphic design. So they would leave the cards so that you knew who to get in touch with, who had actually done the job, and where to find them. Because back then, there weren't street numbers. There were just streets. So, I was on Airport Road. Okay, we're on Airport Road. Here, and they would draw a little map, and so it would help you find them. And if you had a signed card, it actually counted as like a legal contract. So these cards had a lot of value. Then in the 18th century, they were still kind of seen as a sort of status symbol among the elite, a way to announce yourself into the household, and there was actually this whole art as to how you folded the card meant certain things. So if you folded it down the middle, it meant that you were calling all family members. If it just had the corner folded, it meant that you had delivered it in person. It wasn't like your servant had come through. And then you could also write certain little notes and little anecdotes as to whether or not this was a congratulatory visit or a condolence. So it's pretty cool how the card actually was like your social media. Leave a little post, leave a little message. And in all these instances, it reflected the person. It was part of the person, and it represented them. And that leads us right into identification. So in the 18th century, they continued using it as a way to kind of identify, this is me, or I have spoken to this person. They had different ways of printing on it. Usually it was woodcut or letterpress. And then in the mid-18th century, they had copper plates, and so you could have a little bit more intricate designs. 19th century, they had lithographic printing. So people would actually start using colors and getting really, really excited about it. So you can imagine that people who sold fruits and such would get really excited about being able to show the vivid colors of their products. So we've got live fruit. It's not molded. I promise. Industrial Revolution started blurring the lines between trade cards and calling cards. So now you can kind of hand it out in formal and informal meetings. So you can imagine like a businessman who has a trade would start using his card for the elite settings as well as for the trade settings, because it's showing like, oh hey, I'm cool, I'm important, I've got this really cool business, you should work with me, or oh, you know me as Mr. Underwood from retail and wholesale. So in some situations it was still kind of that in between where the elite wanted to keep it as an elite thing, the trade wanted to move in, so it was a little tricky there. And then fast forward to today, there aren't that many rules about when and where and how you hand out your cards, especially in Western society, but we'll show you in other societies it's actually a little bit more tricky. And nowadays you can have cards in any shape, size, print. The sky's the limit, which is pretty exciting. So why did we go over this? Mainly because it's to remind ourselves, because sometimes you get a business card and you're like, oh great, now what? It still is a way to reflect a person, to represent a person, and not just an entity, like not just a company, but it's an individual person. It's a contact card. It's a way to hand off information. This is where you can find me. I should respond if you call that number. If I don't, I probably don't like you. So, all that said, what do you actually include on a business card? You can read this. Basically, it's somebody saying, like, I want to include everything on my business card, but I just remembered my card is only 3.5 by 2 inches tall. So that said, how much can you actually put on there? And how much do you need to put on there? So bare minimum, it's name, email, and phone. And that's for today's age. Everyone's got an email, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a name. Hopefully. If not, we should write a book about you because that's pretty cool. So bare minimum, have those 3 things. Then as needed, you can include the person's title, the company name and the logo, their website, additional phone numbers, things like fax, if you still use those, home, mobile. But think about that, some people still do use fax. So say like your tax person, you may need to fax something for them, so it may be helpful for them to have that information on the card. Mailing address, physical address, also important company info. So is it an LLC? Does it have some sort of nonprofit status? Is it a minority-owned business? Is it something that is important to call that out on the card because this is the main form of contact between you and this individual? But at the same time, what do you really need to tell them? A lot of times we have a website, so maybe a lot of this can be included on the website. It doesn't necessarily all have to be on the card unless it has to be on the card, if that makes sense. So let's say you're somewhere where people need to mail things frequently. Okay, maybe it's good to have a mailing address. If you're just a graphic designer where people don't need to know where you live or where to mail things, you can probably get away with just your email, phone, and possibly your title. So we talked about Western society versus other societies. So in Asia, there's a lot of intricate rules to it, and the only reason why I bring this up is because sometimes you don't know about these rules. It's an entire culture around the business card. In China, so you have to keep in mind if you're working for a Chinese client, one side of the card has to be translated to Chinese, and if you use gold ink, it's actually elegant, and it's an auspicious color. I'm really bad at saying fancy words. And so keep that in mind that if you're working with a client that is working overseas in China, you may not be able to have a design on the back because that back side has to be translated for that culture. Also, if in India you're working with somebody who's going to be doing a lot of business in India, it's actually encouraged to have the university degree or honors on there, on the cards. So it's a lot of information that you may not think of here in this society, but if the person is working overseas, it's important to include it because if not, they'll seem almost like social outcasts because the card is still so important there. In Japan, you have to make sure your business card includes your title because that's very important to them. Also, how you present the card is important. You can't fold it or put it in your pocket because in a lot of these cultures, the card is seen as the person. So how you treat the card is how you're treating the person. So if you're like me, you shove everything in your back pocket, you're essentially saying, hey, Amberly, this is what I think about you. It's like, oh, you just ruined a multi-million-dollar business transaction by putting that in your pocket. So a lot of people actually carry special carriers, and you have to, I don't know the intricacies, but you have to give it with one hand, receive it in two, or something. Demetrius is nodding, he knows better than I do. And so just keeping in mind who you're designing it for. So going back to what do you actually need to tell them. So the fun part is there's a lot you can influence on the design of the card itself. So print, are you printing single-sided? Are you doing double-sided? Shape, are you going to stick with the standard size? Or are you going to try to do square, oversized, vertical? Keep in mind, if you are working for a larger company, do you have to adhere to their guidelines? Do you have to use their fonts, their colors, their logos, and also their tones? So if you're working for, Google, you can have probably a playful font and a playful card, maybe something that's a little bit more interactive. If you're working for Ronald's Funeral Service, you may not want to be very excited and write down your favorite color on your business card. That's slightly inappropriate. So keep in mind who you're designing the card for, who is actually being used, who's actually using the card, and in what situations is this card being used. And then, are you going to use any special processes? So letterpress, die cut, plastic, or UV spot. And we'll go through some examples of that. Also, a tip that we have figured out, or I have figured out the hard way, is when you're designing cards for multiple team members, use both the shortest and the longest name. Just because John Smith fits really nicely on the card does not mean that Christopher Caldwell will fit just as nicely on the card at the same point size. And this has gotten me in trouble a lot of times. So maybe if you know that you have multiple people and you may not be in charge of actually versioning out all the business cards, try stacking the names because you'll give yourself a lot more room. So just a little tip and trick that may be helpful down the road. So this is always my favorite part, is seeing the mouth-watering examples of really nicely designed business cards. So remember little Chrissy with her box of business cards. These aren't ones that I had. These are ones that are just out there on the interwebs. So standard size. A lot of times we get a brief and we're like, oh man, you can only print standard. Shoot, well I have these great ideas for a square card. That doesn't mean you're going to end up with a crappy design. It just means you have to push yourself harder to make a really cool one. So maybe you do something where you actually use an outside element, scan it in, and make your cards really interesting. Maybe you can talk to them about having some sort of colored edge around the edges. If it's something that you have direct contact with, you can actually get your cards and then either spray paint the edges or just paint them. It gives it that really cool special touch without having to pay extra for it. Again, only volunteer to do that if you have 50. If you've got 500, you're gonna hate yourself after a little bit. Try introducing a really cool background design, something that'll catch you off guard. This would have been a fairly standard card if it hadn't been for that background, and it's literally just 5 stripes down the back. Maybe the card doesn't have to be so traditional. Maybe you can do something really cool that represents whoever's being represented on the card. And also something just really elegant and nice can go a really long way to being really cool and impactful card. Also try flipping it vertically, so you don't always have to do it horizontally. You can do anything as crazy or as simple as something like that, or a little bit more intricate with a lot of type elements inside of it. You can be really playful, but also still clean, or a little bit more old school. The world is your oyster. Odd shape. So let's say you do want to go a little crazy and there is budget for an intricate shape. So you can do a die cut shape for the actual card. So you can do square, or you can do a triangle card. You can do something that looks like ticket stubs. You can do a pineapple. Playing cards are really fun to do because a lot of times you can actually get printed by playing card printers, and that looks really cool. So handing those out is really fun. And then maybe a shape that aligns itself with the logo, or something as simple as having a bite taken out of the card itself. It goes a long way to making that impact of this is cool, this is something different. This is something that I'll actually keep instead of shoving in the bottom of my bag. Die cuts. Again, this usually ends up being a little bit pricier on the scale, but it just depends on what your client can do or what you can do. So you can die cut either something out of the middle, the whole middle, doing something that actually aligns itself with the name of the company, or something that's a little bit more playful. UV spot. So what a UV spot is that glossy effect, but only for a certain part of the card. So for this card, you can see here, it's actually a black card, and they just UV spotted the actual information on there. Keep in mind why you're doing that and who you're doing that for, so it won't work in all cases. If you do glossy black card, it's a really cool impact, but it may not be the most practical card, so just keep in mind when and where you're introducing that. And maybe if your client is a painter, you can do a really cool spot for the different backs of the cards and showing the different color swatches that they do, or you can actually get your paintbrush out and paint right on the cards if you have a low count. You can also do really cool borders, and then maybe not a UV spot, but you can do a gold foil or a gold stamp. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do that introduce a really neat element to your card and makes it just a little bit more special. To that, a lot of people are doing this sort of plastic effect, where they actually print on plastic. I don't know how they go through with this, but it's pretty neat. It works really nicely for photographers. I've seen this done quite a bit. This person made it look like a little microchip or some sort of technologically advanced thing from the future. You can also make it a little bit more simple. So you can see that there's a lot of slides here. So there's a lot of business cards out there, and I almost included a page of really bad cards, but there's so many, and it made me cry that I was like, no, we're just going to look at the really pretty ones, because that's where the fun is. Letterpress is one of my favorite things, too, because you can do something that's called a blind emboss, where you don't actually put ink on the press when you press it. So you can see this one is probably blind embossed, and this one as well. So it just creates that pattern in the background without actually having to put down the ink, and then the rest of the information can go on top. And again, it just adds a little bit special, a little extra to the card. And the reason why you want to do this is there are so many cards out there, and you get so many, and after a while it's kind of like emails where you have to pick and choose which ones you're going to keep. And the ones you're going to keep are the ones that make an impact on you. I have one from Piper and Leaf when they first started, where they actually printed it on wood. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, that's really neat. So I kept it because it was special. It wasn't just some paper card that just said Piper and Leaf on it, where it's like, okay, that's fine. It gave me something to hold on to, something worth holding on to. And you can do a lot with a little, so maybe go minimal. Have your text bleed off the page. Do something a little bit unexpected with it. Just be really intricate or really cool with how you use your typography. Or like I said, all you really need is name and some sort of form of contact, so you don't have to go too crazy with what you're including if, Matt Starin doesn't have to say all that much. Or you can let the design do the talking for you. Also keep in mind, if you're designing for a team, how is it going to look across the entire team? Are you going to do something where each person maybe has their own design? Maybe their own pattern where they all align really nicely together? Or just something where it's just a different text on the back, but all the colors kind of interwork with each other. So just keep that in mind, because you want to make sure that if you have a team, when they're handing out the cards, you can see the connections between them. Or maybe you don't. Maybe that's part of the fun of what you're working on. And then these are really fun. So if you can find a way to make your card interactive, that just gives it a whole other layer to the card. So whether you're somebody who does a lot of sewing, you make your card actually somewhere where they can keep their threads, or somewhere where they can actually start writing notes. This one was really clever because it was for a team where everyone had the same kind of last bit to the email address in the beginning of their phone number, and the team members could fill it in as they came out to the team. So that's a really good way to keep the cost down low, especially if you have high turnover on your team. You can just give them the cards, so you can fill them out themselves. Also, you can get a little bit playful with who you're designing for. So, divorce lawyer, you may need to split things in two, including the card itself. This one's probably one of the most popular ones. If you ever Google creative business cards, that one comes up, just because it's such a clever card. If you had handed me that card by itself, it wouldn't have been anything. But just putting that perforation down the middle, it made it special, made it something worth keeping and something worth mentioning. Also something where you interact with the card itself by popping out certain elements. You can do whatever you'd like. And then this is the whatever you'd like section, where you really go crazy. If you're a lawn mowing company, maybe hand out seeds. That way they have to call you back next year because now you have a bunch more cards in the yard. If you have multiple team members, but you're going all together to one conference, you don't want to hand out the cards individually, you can almost make this sort of binder-like motif to it. If you're a bike technician, maybe you can give the tools to the actual person as they start working with it. If they're a moving company, your card actually folds up into a box. You see the trend, right? You can basically do whatever. You can make a map. You can just grab cardboard and write your name on it, but that gets my attention. So, and one of my favorites is Lego would actually hand out little Lego pieces for each one of their business people. And I wonder if they got to customize their heads, because I think that'd be pretty cool. So we've come a long way if you think about it. From this sheet of paper that maybe was 4x6 to something that could be a Lego, you can see that we have a lot of room to play with. We are no longer limited to just a card with type on it. We can do whatever we want. We can include photography. We can make it letterpress. We can hand draw on there. We can do whatever we'd like. But with that comes responsibility. Don't forget what the card is all about. Whether it looks like this or it looks like this, it is all identifying a person and is representing them in the business field. So make sure that they're being represented as best as possible and the most relevant as possible. So this works for somebody who works at Lego. If you're a coder, it might work, it might get people's attention, but is it the most appropriate thing for what you want to do? Make sure you stand out for the right reasons. So with that, we are going to team up, and we got a large crowd, so this is going to be really fun. We're going to team up with a partner, ideally somebody you've never met before. And we will be making a business card for that person. So I will flip back to the slide that says, what to include, what not to include, or what you can include, not you can or shouldn't. And, wow, actually, no, I knew it. I was like, I actually stopped on the right one. So we will go through, you will introduce yourself to your partner, you will write down what they do, jot down some ideas as to how you can make the card, and go from there. Any questions? You guys were really quiet during that. I barely even got like a ooh at the letterpress. That broke my heart a little bit, guys. You're the only one that was like, guys, it's letterpress. Yay! Okay, so table. Yeah, we can go grab a table. I think we got even number. If not, caveat you guys. Talk to somebody you've never talked to before. If you've talked to everybody in this room, then you deserve a gold star.
So the group is not going to come.
Yeah, this is my first time here, so
I don't know.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, paper. Over here.
Okay.
I guess we can do that.
Well, it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get to all my
Does everybody have a working partner?
So I get
I mean, I'm here.
I think it's right. Why we didn't keep it.
Do you have a partner? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Good job.
So I can make a free.
I just wanted to encourage
computer science student and I want to be a software developer. And I guess the most important thing in terms of my skills is that my skills are very broad. The way I have my business card right now is that it's super simple because I don't want to commit myself to anything yet. So yeah, I just do software development, web development, programming. That's kind of my world, and I just aim at anybody who wants my services. I'm not really aimed at
And just because you don't have a business doesn't mean you don't need a business card.
Okay,
You're still an individual.
so I'm a marketing major. Usually in finance, the last thing is really that's why
with
I guess I'm an intern in sales marketing.
kind of what you do there, right?
Social media marketing. I've written articles like that.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, that's really my focus. Like that's what my internship is.
Any kind of opportunities that you're interested in specifically, maybe, like what you're aiming So is there any kind of opportunity you're aiming for?
I would be a social media marketing specialist for
Okay, alright. Alright, I understand now.
Okay. Yeah. Alright, what's
So that's the one.
Do you have like a name for your like management or I've never decided this. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any like really like I don't know design to go stuff in your specialty? So like okay. I don't know how to put that in the business card. About like colors, love, and like these folks on like an abstract geometric diagram. Yeah, for like making design apps, like do you design like most of this graphic designers and stuff like yeah, so what do you design product? And so person that does like cool designs on the sides of cars, you see the highway, that kind of stuff. Okay. I can make that happen. Okay. Yeah. You're not like there you go. Yeah. I don't believe you. Good job.
I've got an idea of what colors would be like, and I would now how I want in my head.
Yeah, as a studio reporter, as a graphic design minor, because I can achieve and I can not like that kind of thing.
I love the exact opposite. The reason I love music is because I have zero fine motor skills. And so I can create exactly what I want with the computer without having to worry about my fine motor skills.
Oh yeah. I think I frustrate myself, but I can't. Yes.
I was doing what I put in place.
Okay, so yeah, we can do
We really never really cut things before.
Yeah. I actually have a cell phone, and it's very common, and I already have a bird that I just did Staples one day, and I'm not happy with it. Like, it's attempting to, we'll meet people and ride by the dinghy, and they'll say, well, whatever, and, nice boat, how about you sometime, whatever, so we came to a boat park. And, it's the boat park tells my boat name, and it has both of our, I'm married, so it has my husband's and my name, so it's a Suzanne and Aaron, and then, it has the boat name, and I say the one I got. Yeah, so, or even
Or something like that.
Well, I think it's like starting like it's
really fun.
He'll get there. It's like going Thank you. Moving to working together.
I'll take another guess. I love you, but we've had people working on our house, like our showers. If for some reason they were soldering, we got them smell like strawberries, so I'm putting strawberries all across that. It smells so good. I'm like, weird, it's just strawberries. Like, I don't know what to do with strawberries. That's our boat on the right. If you have to there, bring your
So that it's flat or it's
I'm thinking, it might be interesting, you could do like a draw of the boat, or, but I'm saying like,
that's the prototype. We'll mark it up, vector graphics, That's what my nephew called four of those, so I could give 4.
it's interesting, something like that might work better, or you probably have a bigger shop up there than,
I know you do a lot more.
No, I'm
so, but you don't take pictures of your own books too, guys.
That's what's tripping me up right now. It's thinking, what kind of sauce is definitely very
I mean,
It's okay, it's
That's all bad timing. That's some bad timing. Sorry about that.
those are the examples.
third time you just smiled at me. Okay.
His phone number's really easy.
No, don't do that. Don't ask me questions about
Yes, like, oh, this is like, it's a lot of significant thing like stuff I usually don't work around. I'm trying to check it out before I gotta see it around. But I'm not saying, when the final tab, it would be like, everything. But one would showcase as they're rotating through the town.
like, no, you're right here because I'm rotating
This is fun. That's more than technical. So the part where slight gray, that would work. And then that part would be slight gray. There you go. Oh, that would be cool. I like it. I like it. I like it. There you go. Thank you, sir. Perfect. Oh, congratulations. Good job.
Oh, that was quite a long way.
I love that.
It's going very We're not glad. Oh, so
I don't think so. That is true. Probably not quite 32.
I won't have it coming. We'll have the
He's a couple.
It's called Sing Somewhere.
I changed the info, that's what I'm telling you. You're in that,
Oh my God.
so he's got us with our mountain, and we did the reaching map out.
I don't know. I mentioned the business cards.
I think the one I got, kind
As he said, not so much.
of guys down here. And then on the back, we offer various classes in backpacking as well. So, yeah, isn't that cool? It's great. Okay.
Around the edge. And, you know, if we had room, say, it's funny because when we're traveling by boat, that's not really. I mean, yeah, hold it back. Yeah, real big, put in your pocket, that's sold somebody, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like the shape of that, it's just do it, just work. I could tie it like that, and I would want out. Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, but I like it. So see, they did both names, and I did the brand, and what.
Wow. That's aggressive.
Specific sea crab, anyway, because we're eating right from the marker, it's brown paint. But, I do a lot of networking, I've come along with Gateway B&I. Pilot House, if I had to drop anything, I'll get rid of the brand, but that's the wrong. Like say, you've got a.
Alright guys, we got a few more minutes. So what we're gonna do, since we're such a large group, we're gonna do a walk around. So we can't all share, unfortunately. There's too many good ideas in the room. So if you want to write like a quick sentence as to what your card does, if it has any sort of functionality to it, or like any special foils or stamps or printing, just that way if somebody walking by sees it, they kind of get where you're coming from, what your ideas were. And we probably have about 5 minutes until you should be at that point where you have something written down, ready to share with the rest. Oops. But keep chatting, you don't have to get quiet on my account. I have never gotten quiet on anybody's account, so.
Yours on Instagram?
We don't.
Okay, well then I'll do an aspect if I respond. And then it'll show up like that on my Facebook.
Perfect, you're good. That's my gift.
Okay, okay.
Okay, cool. Alright. Yeah.
Let's start in text.
Yeah, any ideas for how to these are kind of, I just think that's really kind of what you do represents you so well. Because you do all things, they all come under that umbrella. And everybody knows. Yeah, you know, really, you could, like I said, but it's, exactly. I like it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's great. And then what, did you guys get around to youth planning for that?
I had to go.
Yeah.
Might be, because I was like, maybe
It's fairly basic, but that's great, you know. We'll go here on the shake this.
It's really hard to like. You didn't know it's going on that was going
Simple things, right, I hear you.
Mine's pretty simple. All it is, and excited about talking to people, smiling, and your information in here. I was thinking, you know, maybe.
So I know you're just
simple, skinny, staff font,
So
and have something non-credit, other info, and packing. You know, you probably don't see very much of it because you're around the entire company. And then, as long as you are right here, you know, make it easy to just kind of references all the rest. And then this is a logo, but then it turns into
Individual illustration.
right, so
On the back.
unexpected right here. And then
So what are you
just like our meeting cut out, but it didn't really work out.
Oh, for your,
And then
yeah,
just the format, right, which is like a hashtag card, and that's what it says eventually, you know,
about social media. Okay, yeah.
so,
like,
oh, it's a very simple design, but it's such a message about social media, it gets the point across, and it's playful and fun and understandable.
Yeah, there's keys on that. Reverse engineering, not make it so you write it down.
Yeah, you should see mine, there's not a single straight line on it, I know.
I tried to do straight lines, but then it just kind of turned into like straight lines. Even for your book, you have some problems. Yeah, your book is like very tribal-esque, like pushed it off.
This is what I create.
Yeah, I mean, the format.
When I create MVC, I'll even have to use a hashtag. I can write it, I can put it, it turns out exactly right every time because I want to try to draw it. Exactly.
No, I had to. I think if you could sort of, I did the point that stuff in the background. Alrighty, so if you want to write down your description, you got a couple, a little bit of time to write your description, and we'll start doing our sort of like cakewalk, sort of business card walk. Why not?
I'll pay.
Yeah,
Alright, I need you to go Monday, I go Thursday on Thursday, TNT on Monday, and then.
Does that like them?
Why don't you just send me your schedule?
Right.
no, actually, hardly at all.
Alright.
We, many years ago, we took a very long trip over to some, but, you know, if you're traveling very much, you never have the right license in the right place that you are, you know, and, so, like, one day we were in a big bag. You put it next to where you're sitting. But I throw out throughout the line, it's quite bigger, but most of the time you're not next to where you're sitting. Plus, you know, sailing takes a lot of, you gotta be sailing, you know, so. Alright, so you're finishing touches, yeah, like hurry up, most of the time we're in the harbor in Maine, and putting fish on there, and this is my last trip.
That's awesome. I love I was about to say, I tried to exercise for this.
second.
Ready.
Can you see me on
Yeah,
the
four of us in blender.
Okay, I know like I'm kind of focused on the car design thing, and so obviously I don't know how to do your car design, so that would just mostly not be what you're doing. But yeah, so I did like that on the front, and then your like your name and stuff, and then like your information and contact on the back with just like signs.
Somebody blow the fire alarm?
I know that's really
If you can hear me, raise your hand. If you can hear me, touch your nose. If you can hear me, tell the person. Awesome. You can tell I worked with 3-year-olds for a long time, eh? Who does not have a smiley face? Okay, good, awesome. What these guys are for, we're going to walk around really quick and look at what our co-designers here have created for us today. And then if there's one that you're particularly like, that's cool, just put a little smiley face down, and then we'll give that person a shout out at the end. So how about you look at design?
No voting for yourself.
You can vote for yourself. If you like her in person, I won't stop you.
You don't know that. So?
And this is not a popularity contest. It's just a special kudos.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Wait, I thought we were using pencils and paper. I don't know.
Yeah, I would have used Photoshop.
I would have had it done in 2 Photoshop over here.
Comic Sans.
I can't give a smiley face to Photoshop.
Can't get out unless you have a good excuse
Oh
for
my
it.
god,
My
I mean, I have several design tools.
the idea, that's our budget. So my idea is to do something with my info. So I want a photograph behind,
There's
you
two
know,
Amberleys.
behind
There's actually another Amberley whose sister's name is Brianna. They're my house.
Ours requires
Yeah.
Have to work on the website all over again for the third
I don't know where.
Alrighty, any particular ones that are calling out to you guys? All of them? Because they're all amazing? Yeah, whichever one you voted for, you actually take home. So. You assume that person's identity. That'd be pretty cool. If you like receive someone's business card, you could be that person for a day. You need to get the writers group in here. Alrighty. So there's some really fantastic ideas out here, and it's incredible how much you can do in just, what were we, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes? And these are sketches. Like somebody was saying, oh, if I had money, I use Photoshop. No. Like always start with pencil and paper because you figure out solutions a lot better than you would just in the computer. You can start with this as well. It's good but you can see how, you know, we can make something as creative as, you know, square business card with binary coming through. You can also make something where the boat reflects the style of the card. You do it vertical or horizontal depending on how you want to illustrate the boat. You can have emoticons taking a walk through the woods and going to take a really fun adventure. You can have, I saw something making like a pop-up stick figure. I don't know what that was about, but that was pretty cool. So if you could say your number one takeaway from today in one word, what would it be?
I'll do it.
There you go.
One word.
Me, I mean, illustrate something like that, where it's really
So structure.
structured.
Yeah.
Probably illustration.
As usual, awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. It's a great word.
Yeah. How about you, Becca?
Probably markers make it
That's more than one word.
better.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Awesome.
I guess like fun, because I think it's social media in high school.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Like playful composition. All right, we'll take it.
Right.
Mixed media art.
That was one word. That is-
Oh. It's all one word.
I couldn't type it.
Art.
There's a hyphen. Right, there you go. You were excited.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man. Ingenuity.
Ingenuity. All right, Gaines, what's your one word?
Expression.
Were you trying to find a word on the counter over there?
No, I'm looking.
You're like Chris, who's like, I like blue.
Color you.
John.
Live.
Unique. Typography. Yeah, like ending on the typography one. But yeah, so in the end, it's, I would say individual, because each one of you guys captures the individuality of not only yourself as a designer, but the person that you're working with. Because the hardest thing you can do is probably design a card for yourself. So reaching out to somebody else, asking them, how do you see me? How should I prepare myself? What should I do? It's okay to ask, what should I do? Because it means that you're willing to learn and willing to do something different. And keep playing around. Play around with paper and pencil first, and then work on the computer and see what you discover there. In the end, just be awesome and imaginative and fiery and all the words that we said today. And just go kick some butt. And yeah, thank you guys. Be sure to take this with you and give yourselves a round of applause. And be sure to come back next week where, PowerPoint?
Yep.
Next week we're doing PowerPoint from a coder's perspective. It's going to be awesome. If you like the PowerPoint, come on out.
Smiley face goes to everyone.
I love it.
Everyone gets a smiley face. I don't think anybody wants.
Thank you for watching, and we are out. See ya.
ya.